Awesome. Good morning, late morning here, maybe good afternoon, maybe good evening for some. Irene, thank you very much for joining us this Friday for the Visto show. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I think this will be a very interesting one because we're going to do some, in-depth or interesting talks about a big problem and a big topic that I get asked about a lot, as you can imagine, which is finding that first job in Canada, right? Whether you're already in Canada or you're even just at the beginning of the process thinking about Canada as an option. A big question I get asked a lot is, hey Josh, what are the job prospects like for this industry? And I never really know what to say. So I'm going to be passing those questions on to you. But anyways, Irene, to get us started, can you just tell us a little bit more about yourself, quick introduction, and what you're working on these days?
Of course. So thank you very much for the opportunity again, and I'm very happy to join this show and this presentation. My name is Irene Vaksman. I'm the Director of Newcomer Services at an organization called JVS Toronto. We have over 70 years of history helping immigrants from all parts of the world, as well as people who are already in Canada, fulfill their potential and get meaningful and gainful employment. So the organization helps people from all walks of life. And my kind of expertise, and I've been with JVS for about 12 years now, is specifically helping newcomers to Canada. And we have a whole range of programs ranging from pre-arrival services for people who haven't arrived in Canada yet, but who are going to arrive within the next year or so, as well as other services that we offer here in the Greater Toronto area. People from different industries, different occupational sectors, as well as newcomer youth, bridge training programs for internationally trained professionals in particular fields. But basically, the area of services that we offer is very broad. And the main thing is, to find the right spot, because Canada has so many supports and so many, all of these, similar organizations to JVS. We have a lot of expertise in helping you figure out what's the right pathway for you. Our services are offered at absolutely no cost. And it's great to see that, the government of Canada, different levels of government, you also have different other sources of funding. So all of these services are free for you as participants, but given you meet the eligibility criteria, but these services are funded. So it's not that they're worthless. There's a lot of resources that goes into making it all happen. But it's for those who are eligible, these services are offered free of charge, and they're pretty expensive.
Absolutely. I mean, I was amazed. I always knew there were government organizations or government funded organizations that were helping in certain areas, but I really didn't, until I spoke to you guys, I really didn't appreciate the level of expertise and professionalism and depth of the services that are offered. So it's really great to hear. Irene, can you really quickly say, you were talking about the eligibility. Let's be clear from the very beginning. What is the eligibility? I believe it has to do with actually having your PR, but you also mentioned pre-arrival services. Is that still only for those who are PR approved? What if they have a work permit or a study permit? If you could clarify a little bit on the eligibility, that might help, just so people know when they should check out JVS.
Of course. So for the pre-arrival program, it is specifically funded by the federal government. So the eligibility by the Federal Ministry of Citizenship, of Refugee Citizenship and Immigration. That particular program for pre-arrival is designed for people who have been approved for immigration, but who haven't arrived in Canada yet. So if you already have your UCI number and you received an invitation for the medical examinations, it means you are eligible for this program. So I can provide the link maybe at the end to share, but you can find information on our website, which is jvstoronto.org, www.jvstoronto.org, and you can find information about the pre-arrival program, as well as eligibility criteria for all the other programs that we have. Normally, majority of the programs that are funded by immigration ministries are for those people who have a status in Canada, meaning permanent resident. If some of these programs are funded by provincial government, in some cases, people on work permit are eligible as well. International students, unfortunately, at this point, no, but we're working on it. So hopefully in the future, it will be more inclusive, and we understand that there are needs for international students as well. And, we're happy to play this role in the future, but currently these services are not funded.
Got it. Okay, that's great to know. So definitely check out the website. We will put the link in the description if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook. Check the description, especially if this is after the live video. The description, the links should be right there. Irene, I want to take a quick second and ask, how did you get into this industry? How and why did you end up getting into this industry and starting your 12-year tenure at JVS?
So it's an interesting journey. As an immigrant myself, my background was in education, adult education, and HR. And when I came to Canada, I was figuring out, my own career pathway. And I started in recruitment, but the piece that I was missing for myself is the actual helping the candidates, because the way the recruitment industry works is mostly working for the employer, and there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just the way the industry is set up. So if you're working with a candidate who is not 100% ready, who is not 100% suitable for this job, you unfortunately have to move on to the next one because you need to work fast. And this is the piece that was missing for me, and this is how I came about looking for an organization where I can work more on the kind of job seeker side and help people prepare, help people figure out the gaps and figure out the right approach and how to present themselves to employer. And it's not that the recruitment companies are not doing it, it's just they're not focusing on it. And our focus is working with you as a job seeker, figuring out the career pathway. So I started as a job developer. I started kind of as a front line, and I worked my way up as I took on more and more responsibilities. And today I manage our Newcomer department, which has about more than about 8 different programs that are funded by different levels of government and different other funding arrangements. And we have about 35 staff in our department, and we service thousands of newcomers every year. Just in our pre-arrival program, we serve about 1,500 newcomers every year.
Wow. Geez, that must make for a busy office then, that many people and 35-ish staff. So let's talk about it, Irene, because it's a huge issue for a lot of people. I mean, immigration is one piece, and that's a whole other different discussion. You get your PR, you come to Canada, or you're getting ready to come to Canada. What are the first few things people should start thinking about or doing, and when they're going to come as a PR? Well, as it relates to jobs, I should say.
So, it's like this famous saying about when is the right time to start educating and disciplining your children. Like, the earlier you start, the better. And same goes with job search, especially when you decide on such a big move as immigration and such a huge change in your life. You can't go wrong with starting earlier. So even when you're just considering immigration, I would say start preparing yourself for employment, because employment is a huge aspect of your future success, your future well-being, your future integration into the Canadian, not only workplace, but society as a whole. When you get gainful employment, and I'm not only talking about, working on a salary. In Canada, there are also lots of opportunities to perhaps start your business. So there's a lot of research that needs to go into it. And from what I'm seeing from, the audience that we work with, many people come much more prepared these ways. First of all, the information is available on all these different sources, and people are actively looking for it, and it's great because it makes our conversation with our employment specialists much more meaningful, that we can start from a certain point and we can engage in a two-way conversation. Our intention is not give the right answers. Our intention is to learn from you what it is that you would ideally like to do, but also help you with the perspective of what is happening. I find also from our experience that the biggest challenge is to understand that as much as all of us had a career back home and we were successful and we had our network and everything, in order to be successful in Canada, you need to understand what's happening in the labor market here. And sometimes having a great resume means that you understand what kind of job or what kind of opportunity you're pursuing here. It's not necessarily only focusing on what you did in the past. It's about how you can translate that past experience into what would be significant, successful, and meaningful in the future in the Canadian labor market, which might be different. Even corporate jobs that can be easily translated from country to country have their own specifics in different labor markets. So our job is to help you understand these specifics, help you present yourself with the right tools in the right language, how to, when you meet an employer, what to say, so that they can understand, oh, I really need this person. They really speak my language. They really know the professional jargon, and they would fit right in. So these are some of the initial steps. Of course, do your research. And primarily do the research of the labor market. See what jobs are in demand. See what you need to tweak in what you've done in your career so that you can better fit in. Maybe you need to take a course while you're still back home. Maybe some other things that you might need to prepare. Of course, English proficiency or French proficiency cannot be underestimated in this situation because all of this will have to be conducted in English or French.
Right. Yeah, that's great advice. And Irene, when you say do some research into the job market, can you give us a little bit more information or resources on where people can find that? Because I get asked all the time, hey Josh, what are the, what's the industry outlook for engineers or, whatever? And I say, I don't really know. But what I advise them to do is check the popular job boards to kind of see, are there a lot of postings? Are there not, et cetera, et cetera. But I always wonder, is there a better answer? Are there other resources, anything else that you recommend that they do to get a sense of, is this job industry that I'm looking to get into based off of my previous history, is it a good one in Canada or is it not?
So one of the things, you can of course access different job banks, but what I would urge people is not to apply right away. Just look at the job descriptions, look at the positions that are being posted on the National Job Bank, on Indeed, on any job board that's available online. Just look at the jobs that are posted. But what I would highly recommend, especially for those people who are already eligible for the pre-arrival program, for example, connect with our employment specialists. Because through the program, you will connect to professionals who can give you some advice. But also a big component of our program is pre-arrival mentoring. So I want to, take maybe a few seconds and elaborate on that a little bit more, because it's a very cool component where we connect pre-arrival professionals to Canadian counterparts who are working in their field. So for example, if you're, let's say, an engineer who has been approved for immigration and is going to come soon from the Philippines and is planning to settle, let's say, in Manitoba, we will try and connect you to an engineer who practices in this field in the province where you intend to settle. Because, another aspect is that there are differences from province to province in Canada. So depending on where you're planning to settle, there might be slight differences. If your profession is regulated, this is also something that you need to look into. Do you really need a license to start looking for a job? Because in some fields, there's nothing you can do. Like, for example, healthcare. If you're a doctor or a nurse, you absolutely cannot do anything as a nurse or as a doctor without having a license. You can explore alternative careers that don't require licensure. You can go into research, or you can go into other fields. And again, this is something that you can discuss with an employment specialist through our program, because those licensure processes might take a few years. So again, being prepared, it gives you kind of the best head start. But in some professions, even though they're licensed and regulated, there are ways for you to start working without having your license. And so again, this is something that you need to be prepared for, because we hear from many newcomers, I need to be a professional engineer in Ontario in order to start working. In many cases, you don't have to be, or other fields. So I would highly recommend connecting with employment specialists. And yes, conduct your research through regulatory bodies, through professional associations. But again, all of this information can be provided by our employment specialists. And the mentoring component is exactly that. You will connect to a professional in your field who will look at your experience and try to give you some advice specific to your situation from the perspective of that field. Because, we are trying to do our best, but we cannot dig so deep into every particular occupation. Therefore, the mentoring component is so important and so valuable, because we have all these volunteers from all across Canada who come to our program with the best intentions to help immigrants. And I think this is great about Canada, that so many people volunteer, and they really make a difference, and they really help.
Absolutely. Yeah, you really can't compare to talking to someone in that exact role in that exact province, right? It's hard to beat that. Irene, you made a really good point earlier, which was that one problem I think a lot of newcomers get into is they're focused too much on the paper of their resume of what they've done in their home country. And that can sometimes hold them back from landing even just an intro, a basic job to get into the Canadian market, because we all know how hard that first Canadian job can be. Can you maybe talk a little bit more about that, how people can overcome it, and or maybe if you have one or two other mistakes or things that newcomers maybe don't get right that you think they could do a better job of to help make landing that first job easier?
Of course. So I think the first thing is try to take a step back and make this mindset shift. Many newcomers make this mistake of presenting themselves very well. This is who I am, here I am, and throw it out there. Whoever jumps on me, great. Unfortunately, this is not how the job search works in Canada. Mm-hmm. In order to be successful, you almost need to get into the head of that employer, of that company that's potentially going to hire you. And you need to look into those job postings from the mindset and from the understanding of what do they need? What problem are they trying to solve? How can I, with my experience, prove to them that I can come and solve this problem? So it's a little bit of a shifting of how we all present it. And I made the same mistake when I first came here, and I've lived through many other experiences, of other people that I've worked with over the years. But this is the first step that needs to happen. And then also understanding the long-term plan versus the short-term plan, because basically, yes, again. I have huge respect. We work with incredible individuals with great careers who make this move, who come to Canada and who want to contribute. And this is all wonderful. Unfortunately, what happens in reality is that many times you can't exactly translate your experience to the same level of a job in Canada when you first land here, especially if you come from more management and people management positions. And rightfully so. Think about Canadian employers and how they're thinking, or company owners. You come from a different maybe communication style, or you come from a different specifics of management from your home country, in a different culture. Therefore, as newcomers, we all tend to kind of overlook this whole idea of soft skills. And, the more we talk with newcomers, they're, okay, I have the technical skills, this is enough. They will hire me for my technical skills. While it might be true for some professions where it's, like maybe a software developer, where it's very technical, you sit and you write your code. But even there, Canadian employers are looking for people who have the soft skills, who will integrate into the team. And this is something that many newcomers tend to overlook. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, and sometimes they learn the hard way. So in order for you to get prepared, when you connect with our program, we have e-learning modules around those cultural differences or preparing you for these situations at work that might happen. Or mentors can help, and even conversations with our employment specialists in terms of, one, presenting your experience in the right way, and two, also understanding the mindset of the employers here and playing this game right. It takes preparation. It is not enough to have a good resume. It takes preparation to understand what exactly your whole package should include. And it's not just the resume, it's your preparedness for the interview process. And many people ask about cover letters. What is a cover letter? A cover letter is kind of your talk. It's how you tell your story, because the resume lists the facts. Your cover letter shows your passion. It shows your the other aspects of your personality that, believe it or not, Canadian employers want to look for the right personality, and it's not less important than the technical skills.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's all really, really helpful stuff. And that's a lot of stuff that I see play out too, right? So I totally agree. Irene, the last topic I wanted to ask about is networking. You briefly alluded to it in the sense that, one of the easiest ways to get jobs in Canada, I mean, easy is a relative term, but one of the easiest ways to get a job in Canada is to know the people at the top or know the decision makers. Do you have any tips for those, whether they're, pre-arrival, like you said, maybe they're doing some of that early prep before they travel, on ways that people can do some effective networking that will hopefully move along their job search a little bit closer when they are applying?
Absolutely. And again, networking is something that is so huge in Canadian job search path. And it might not be the case in other countries of the world. And we've heard it from people who are coming here. It was enough to just post your resume on a job search site, and then employers would come and look for you. Well, if you're lucky enough, it might even happen in Canada. But here, networking is probably the biggest component of your job search. How can you grow and build and grow your network when you're coming to a new country where even the number of acquaintances is so limited, if you have them at all? There are different tools, and through our program, pre-arrival program, and programs that we have in Toronto and in Ontario right now, we teach you how to do effective networking, because this is something that we feel is very important for you to be successful, and not necessarily just to land your first job, because I understand all of you guys are very preoccupied with getting that first job, but believe me, it's all about building your career, having that long-term plan. So the bigger your network is, the more effective your network is, the better your career is going to be in the long run as well.
Absolutely.
So of course, reaching out to people on LinkedIn, but with the right messaging. Again, you will be surprised how open many Canadians are if you just randomly write to them on LinkedIn and you tell them, I'm so and so, I'm coming from such and such country, or I'm already here and I'm a new immigrant and this is my experience. Would it be possible to ask you a couple of questions or connect? You need to do it the right way, but so many people are so responsive, and it's amazing. Another thing is the mentoring program that we have, both through our pre-arrival program, and we have other mentoring opportunities that we're offering. Connecting with a mentor is great because these people already stepped forward as volunteers who want to make a difference and who want to support newcomers. Engage through professional associations. Look for groups of your profession on Facebook and other social media platforms where people gather and share resources. You become active, you found an interesting article, people write back to you, you engage in these conversations, and all this might result in you having a better prospect of getting employed. So it's not only knowing the people at the top, it's knowing the people on all different levels. Because you never know when it's going to be useful, but being active and being proactive and also doing it right. Because if you connect to someone and you start demanding things from them, it's probably going to turn them off. So you need to do it the right way. You need to show that you're eager. You need to show that you have value to offer, and that you also want to learn about the other person. because this is what
Absolutely.
it's all about. Networking is not only talking about yourself, it's also learning about the other person.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that's super valuable, super helpful stuff. Irene, thanks so much for coming on and sharing this with us. Can you remind us one last time if people want to learn more about the company, or maybe also if they want to get in touch with you or learn more about you, where do you recommend that they go?
So they can go on our website. That's probably the easiest thing, www.jvstoronto.org. And you can find the link to our pre-arrival program. You can find me on LinkedIn. I can't promise I'll respond to everyone right away, but I'll do my best.
Awesome.
And I'd like to wish everyone the best of luck. It's not easy, but it's doable. But it's absolutely doable.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Irene, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.